Greetings, race fans, and welcome to RaceSpot TV's coverage of top split action from the Radical Esports Cup. J.R. Gregory here with you on the call. Beside me in the commentary booth, my longtime partner, Racing Ron Mons, and today's producer is Ramiro Agustin Cisneros. And today brings us to Week 8 of 2026, Season 1, and with names like the Minter Straight, Westfield, Sheen Curve, Sterlings, Clark Curve, Brabham Straight, Graham Hill, and Druids Bend. You know that we're racing in the UK, and today's race will be contested at the iconic Brands Hatch Circuit. Today we're approaching the 100-year anniversary of racing here in the British countryside, which began with motorcycles racing on a dirt track carved into a hilly landscape. And as the track developed, it has played host to F1, F2, F3, F5000, Champ Car, World Touring Cars, Superbikes, and many others. Currently host to the British Touring Car Championship, Porsche Carrera Cup, and the British GT Championship, to name a few. Today's configuration, 2.5 miles, 4 clicks, 9 corners, and the current record of 112.276 was set in 2009 by an A1 Grand Prix car, if you think back and remember those. Ron, while this track looks very straightforward on paper, it is nowhere near as easy as it appears. So what are a few things that make this track so tricky?
Well, I would say the main thing is the elevation change. Usually when it comes to UK racetracks, you have two different ends of the spectrum. You have the fantastic ones like Silverstone and Snetterton, built on some old RAF bases, completely flat, not a lot of elevation change to work at. And then you have some other ones. You take this, for instance, here at Brands Hatch, Alton Park, that we visited for week number 2 of the season. Those with a heck of a lot of elevation change. That's part of the grand feature, I would say, of Brands Hatch. When you think of this track, you think of the challenge. You think of the story of it as well. From Formula One and Euro NASCAR to IndyCar and motorcycles, this track plays host to a boatload of racing. Here at the Radical SR10s, far from the first time that we have been here, JR, but these racers still love it every single time we get to visit here. It's that same sort of blend that we see at some other racetracks like Sebring for round number 1, that mix of extreme heavy drafting, especially heading down that straightaway into turn number 5. And then you've also got the tight, twisty, and challenging bends around this racetrack that test the drivers' nerve just as much as it tests their skill. So really looking forward to seeing what kind of racing we have here today. I think it's going to be a fun day.
Yeah, it definitely ought to be. And Brands Hatch stands out to me as a track that demands precision, and we'll talk about that more later. But here are your season standings thus far through 7 weeks of competition. Christoph Lipp is looking to repeat as the champion here in the Radical Esports Cup and on the public servers. 1577, has a pretty good grip on P1, but sniffing around behind Havard Gullikson, another past champion of this series, and James Barry, yet another, will round out your podium. And then it's Heinz Braun, Kjetil Larson, Peter Ivani, Sebastian Lipp, George Gonzaga, Aaron Sipos, and Adrian Rostang there in P10. That is your top 10 for... Not sure what we're looking at there, but that is your top 10 so far through 7 weeks of competition. And as qualifying winds down here, I want to remind everybody that this is not a private or league event. We are broadcasting the top split of iRacing officials here, 2100 GMT, as we do every Friday. So if you want to give these radicals a whirl, practice up, show up, and sign up. If you make the top split, you can appear here on RaceSpot TV, as well as the official iRacing YouTube channel, alongside some of the best radical drivers in the world. And Ron, as I was saying, I love competition here at Brands Hatch. The track looks easy, but in these radicals, they have got some power, they have got downforce, they have got speed, and some of these corners you have to hit with such precision. You are absolutely threading the needle. A couple that stand out in my mind in that regard: that uphill left-hander Surtees, and also Sheen Curve after Dingle Delta, another right-hander kind of over a blind crest. So it is going to be fascinating to see these folks go to war out here today.
Yeah, I think the war of the day is going to be balance. These drivers have to strike the balance to figure out how well they can tackle this racetrack, how well they can tackle this race. It is going to be a challenging one to get the festivities up and rolling. Let's take a look at that starting grid.
Yeah, and here's your starting grid. It's going to be Ivani has captured the pole here at Brands Hatch. He'll line up next to James Barry in row 1. Then Lasse Sorensen will line up to Kjetil Larson in 3 and 4. Sebastian Lipp will line up next to his brother Christoph there in row 3. And Heinz Braun then will line up next to Andre Castro in 7 and 8. Havard Gullikson next to Paki Caruso in 9 and 10. Adrian Rustang will line up next to John Pethick, defending his home turf out of the UK. And then Gabriel Bouslier will line up next to Denis Kyriakopoulos in 13 and 14. And here we go. We are gridded up, getting ready to go here. We are looking at Ivani there in the green number 7 car. He will have the inside line into turn 1. And remember, no traction control, no anti-lock brakes, and stone cold tires. So the first trick here, get these radicals off the line and get them woed up for a very difficult and off-camber turn 1. And here we go, Ron. And we are underway. Pretty good start so far. Ivani is able to cover the threat from behind. So it's, some cars already off there. That looks like Braun in the number 5 is going to visit the kitty litter. Looks like one of the inert cars might have been Gonzaga off as well.
There was actually Sebastian Lip there in the number 6 car. Not the way that he wants to start this race off at all. The 2 Lip brothers getting split at the present moment. Now we've got to worry about the inert teammates right up towards the front. Not the start that they want at all. Certainly Heinz Braun always bringing the thunder, and Sebastian Lip a bit more conceited in his approach. Not the way those racers want to start off the day at all.
Yeah, not at all. Here is another look at that start, and we'll take a look at Braun here. Did he have help? Maybe just the slightest tap. And as I said, icy cold tires. These cars don't weigh much. It takes 2 or 3 laps to get the tires up into operating condition. So over that crest, off camber turn 1, just that slight side-to-side tap, enough to upset both of those cars, and that is going to give Braun a lot of work to do, and he is capable of it, Ron. He's running in P14 right now, but I'm looking for him to pick his way through the field. Braun not shy at all, so if he sees openings, he is going to stick that radical down.
Yeah, so we'll have to keep an eye on those 2 racers a little bit farther in the back. Lip and Braun making their way up through the field at the back of the running order right now. One driver that I am most certainly keeping my eyes on is the number 2 car of Andre Castro. He's slotted in P7 right now. We haven't seen him a lot thus far this season. He entered this season here in Season 1 of 2026 as your reigning 2-time Radical Esports Cup Official Series champion. Now, however, he is on the back foot, probably not eyeballing a return to championship form just based off his participation being a bit spotty. I don't think he can come back. However, he's probably just going out there trophy hunting, and sometimes, in fact, quite often, JR, that's always a good spot to be and say, you know what, I'm not having to worry about defending a championship points lead, trying to get a crown. I could just go out and race for all-out glory.
Absolutely, and for the love of racing is right now it is Ivani from Barry, from Soren, from Sorensen, from Larson, from Lip, and you see that train forming, and we do get a little bit of a draft train that doesn't have the long straight as some of the tracks on our calendar here, but certainly that pit straight can suck these cars together a little bit as they prepare to take that crazy dive down that downhill, difficult right-hander at the end of the pit straight, turn 1. But as I said, 2 laps down already. They're ticking by very quickly here, short laps at Brands Hatch. It is Ivani from Barry, from Sorensen, and not a lot of movement in the field so far.
Yeah, but it's only a matter of time before these racers fully settle into a groove. I always mention that these SR10s take about 2 to 3 laps to really build the heat up into the tires, get the juices flowing, and then you're going to see these racers really run at 10/10s. And this is a fixed setup series as well here in the officials, so you don't have to worry about different setups on these cars. Everybody is running at the baseline. It's just a matter of driver comfort. Once they can get into that window, slip into that envelope, if you would, they're going to be fully off to the races. They're still trying to get to that point right now, but I feel like it's only a couple of moments before we start to see that aggression begin to get turned up.
Yeah, and Ivani looking good up front, and good to see him making something happen. He's a frequent flyer here on our 2100 GMT broadcast. You saw his name in the top 10 in terms of points on the season, and he came out here, threw down the gauntlet, and captured that pole position, and is doing pretty good with Barry behind him. That gap currently sitting about 0.7. So Ivani doing a great job out here this afternoon.
Yeah, Vonnie doing everything that he needs to do at the moment. The top four remaining undisturbed, but as I said, I feel like it's only a matter of time before there could be some attention raised. You look at that car of Christoph Lipp, of course, having championship aspirations in mind for him. Now, we're going to have to see how things work out in terms of drop rounds as we head into the final few weeks of the season, but Christoph certainly looking to become the official series champion after running in this series for once upon a time. I think the first time that we got the opportunity to cover him in one of these races, JR, was all the way towards the start of 2024. He's quick. He is a very fast racer, but you got to look at Andre Castro right in tow. That is a 1-2 punch for the racers running in the top four. So as much as they're running in the same spots that they started in, they may not be able to rest on their laurels a bit too much.
Yeah, and if you are running up there in those top couple positions, it is hard to ignore the potential pressure that could come up from behind. You mentioned Lipp and Castro. Castro, gaudy iRating. I don't have it in front of me, but my recollection, he's an 8K plus driver, a real-world driver as well, and has shown very good consistency, very good pace over the seasons that we have been covering. So Avani feeling pretty good right now about that P1, but has 15 laps to go, which is a tall order to hang on to that P1 with the likes of Barry, Lipp, Castro, Gullickson, and the rest of the crew behind. This is a very, very strong field. I think you mentioned, Ron, when we started the broadcast, the strength of field out here north of 5K. So as usual, our 2100 GMT broadcast here on Race Spot and on the iRacing official channel has attracted the very best radical pilots in the world as we ride along with Denis Kiriakopoulos, and they're coming up to the corner that is the absolute bane of my existence on Brands Hatch Surtees. It doesn't look like much, but you have to hit it with such precision, avoid that inside curve, get on the power early, and use all of that exit to straighten out that corner for the important run up Pilgrim's drop in Hawthorne Hill right here. Very, very difficult track here at Brands Hatch.
And of course, it is an old school blast from the past circuit, and you can tell with the lack of any sort of sophisticated runoff area here. You do have the grass and gravel, which can stop a race car quite well, but if you do go off, you're going to be running into some trouble a few turns after that. I think it is fair to say that's one of my biggest pet peeves, for lack of a better term, with this racetrack. Pet peeve section through 7 and 8. We saw that quick fling right there. It feels almost chicane-esque. It's like a chicane approaching the event horizon of a black hole, quite spread out. You do have to worry about dipping a wheel off the track into the dirt and really messing up your approach into turn number 8. We'll keep an eye on that all throughout this race. In the meantime, though, I want to give some love to these racers a little bit farther up the road. Have seen a swap-a-roo. I believe it was Kyle Larson and Lasse Sorensen, the two IGL Codage drivers that we see quite often in this series. They pulled a swap-a-roo. They're now running in P3 and P4 respectively. Sorensen, the rear gunner right now. Christoph Lipp and Andre Castro right there to pounce. So we take a look at the race start and see this moment with Heinz Braun and Sebastian Lipp. Interestingly enough, I'm going to say, I think it was Sebastian that was the one that kind of instigated that, at least from the looks of it.
Yeah, just maybe overcooking that entry just a little bit, washes out, and just that light side-to-side tap. But yeah, Sorensen did lose his P3 to his teammate Kyle Larson. Now has Christoph Lipp all over him, and that is not an enviable spot to be. He's got Lipp and Andre Castro riding along with him right now, looking ahead at Lipp, and Lipp has reeled in Sorensen. So Sorensen may be in danger of dropping to P5 here in the near future, just finishing lap 6 here. Laps going by quickly, but plenty of time left for the likes of Lipp and the likes of Andre Castro to move on up, and move on up they will if they get an opportunity. They are going to take the fight to the driver in front, and great stuff here as usual. Brands Hatch, see a little inside defensive move there going into Druids Bend and down the hill into Graham Hill Bend, and as I said, my favorite corner, Surtees, coming up at the end of this short blast.
As we rode on board with Andre Castro, I know I talk about this a lot on these shows, but he is a very talented race car driver, both in the sim and in real life. Of course, a two-time past reigning champion here in the Radical Esports Cup. Part of that BS hybrid competition stable with some very prolific racers, both in the sim and in real life. I believe Jamie Chadwick, past W Series champion, is part of that stable as well. As it's really getting frenetic in this battle for P4. Lasse Sorensen trying to defend for his life as Christoph Lipp got to look for the inside, outside, swapping sides like he's flipping burgers off through the second sector. That nearly ended in disaster into turn number 7 and 8, but he's going to hold on to that P4 spot with Lasse Sorensen, but Christoph Lipp is still there trying to make the move done now around the outside into turn number 8. That's contact for sure.
Oh my goodness, and that was crazy stuff as Lipp tries the outside of Clark Curve heading onto that pit straight. Oh, and there we go. Things have gone from bad to worse. That is Castro, I believe, helping Lipp off into the kitty litter right there. We'll show you a replay of that. But Sorensen breathing a huge sigh of relief. Lipp was all over him like the plastic on grandma's couch. It was only a matter of time before he would fall to P5. But Castro, I believe, with a slight tap to the back of Lipp, and Lipp has binned it. Lipp has taken a toe, and Lipp's race over.
Yeah, so both Lipp brothers running into troubles here at Brands Hatch, as much as it was Sebastian going for a slightly bold move into turn number 1 that cost him a shot at victory. This time, I don't think it was anything that Christoph Lipp could have done. Right before that took place, I decided to jump on board with Andre Castro on my own secondary feed to see exactly what was going to go on into turn number 1, because I knew some sort of drama was going to go up. Those drivers were just so stacked up in there. We'll load up a replay in a couple of moments' time, and here it go. Fantastic work from Romero, the production truck. You can see Andre Castro goes for the move. Now, the problem with going for a move there is that space is always going to disappear. The brief area in which he pulled out was the pit exit. And not only do you have that pit exit cone, which if it gets stuck underneath these aero-sensitive SR10s, it's going to turn your car into a land yacht. You're also just going to run out of time to try and go for a move. I was going to mention how Andre Castro, very great driver in the sim and in real life, past experience, a past Team USA scholarship winner. But as much as there's the yin of me praising his driving, I'm going to give the yang and say that was a kamikaze move into turn 1.
Yeah, absolutely. The stewards are going to take a dim view of that. Castro trying to stuff it down the inside of turn 1. Absolutely did not have anything close to position right there. Sends Lipp into the barrier. Lipp has parked it. It is over for Lipp. And between all the kerfuffleage up front right now, Ivani and James Berry have driven off. That's 1 and 2, only about 0.5 of a second separating those two. Then Larson finds himself on an island right now with Sorensen having fallen back about a second and a half. Sorensen now has Gullikson driving along with him. So what is normally a packed field up front has split up into a few pairs here following a couple incidents early on. Castro still running. So Christoph Lipp definitely getting the worst of that contact on the entry to turn 1.
And I was talking about the old school nature of this circuit and how easy it is to run out of real estate space. That's a prime example of it into turn number 1. You just can't go for a move off in there without some sort of disaster taking place. We saw that with Castro and Lipp. We've seen it a lot in real life. Drivers both in the sim and in real life going for some moves that are just never going to fly in there. It also doesn't really make too much sense because you've got the hairpin of turn number 2, which is a fantastic overtaking opportunity. See a driver losing a little bit farther in the back. I believe that's Sean Pethick that we just saw there in the number 13 car taking a trip into the gravel trap on the outside of 2. That's a good spot to get a move done. I'm going to be honest, I think in all that craziness and stacking up, it was a little bit of red mist descending there, because otherwise, turn 1 just not a spot to get a move done. More often than not, it is never going to work. Now, you can make that move work, but you could also liquidate all your assets, buy nothing but lottery tickets, and come out on the other side of it being a millionaire.
Yeah, too right, Ron. And a move is doable there, as you said, but you definitely have to present yourself side by side way before the crest of that hill on the entry to turn 1. And Castro, frankly, not even close there, just getting a couple inches of overlap, just enough overlap to turn Lipp and send him into the barrier. So very, very dicey move there by Castro. And I'm going to say if this was a stewarded event, he would be taking a trip to the principal's office following that. But going back to Peter Ivani, James Berry doing a good job hanging on here. And Berry is nothing if he is not consistent, if he is not frosty. And he can see way down the track into the future. He has a long-term plan here, and unlike what we saw Castro do, he's not going to do anything rash, but he's certainly going to be planning to make a move before this one is over. And look at that battle for 7th. That is Rustang from Caruso from Kyriakopoulos there, going to battle down into Graham Hill Bend, and some great racing up and down the grid as we always get here, Ron.
Yeah, it's always action-packed, and we have got some brilliant action running on board with Dennis Kyriakopoulos in that number 11 car. Gonna try and make hay while the sun is shining in this fight with himself, Adrian Rosatang, and Paki Caruso side by side with himself and Caruso as they headed their way off in the crackle through to 7. That's not gonna work after Kyriakopoulos. He holds on to P9. Just want to say that inert stable has been absolutely gutted here in this race. The highest running of them is James Berry in P2, still with the shot to win. Then you have to go back to find Dennis Kyriakopoulos running in P9, and then another inert driver, Sebastian Lip in P10. This has not been a good race for them at all. They usually bring the thunder. They've got some very quick racers, but unfortunate circumstances for that team not really helping them out, as Caruso now go for the move on Rosatang into 2.
Yeah, and that was the move you wanted Castro to wait and make instead of turning Lip there into turn 1, and very well done under braking by Caruso. That is another tough spot. You're at the top of the hill. The car is lightening up just as you're coming off the brakes and trying to get the car to rotate around that hairpin, and Caruso making it look easy right there, and then watching out. Easy come, easy go. Caruso going wide out of Surtees, my favorite corner, and that has cost him not only the position that he just gained, plus another one as Caruso falls now to P10, all the way down to P10. That allowed Kyriakopoulos and Sebastian Lip through, and tip of the hat to Kyriakopoulos, by the way. His attempted pass into Sheen curve there, very, very ballsy. Almost got that done, thought he had it, actually, and you know, that is a place where you know these drivers have confidence in their racecraft and car control to even attempt a move right there. And as I said, really thought Denis was going to get that one done, but not able to, as Rostang hangs on to that position, but just barely.
Yeah, and I thought there was going to be a bump and run attempted there from Paki Caruso on Sebastian Lip. It looked like those cars were incredibly close. Yeah, I think I have seen a racer try and do that in a Radical SR10. The problem is doing that and escaping without any major damage on both cars is you'd be more likely finding Bigfoot riding Unicorn, frankly. But Peter Eveny still holding on to that top spot. But James Berry, I think, is looking to see when he can get this move done, when to pounce. James Berry, a driver that we have covered for many moons here in these Radicals, the past 4-time official series champion. He wants to start off 2026 on a high note, winning an official series championship. It looks like he'll have to battle his teammate of Christoph Lip for it. But right now, Christoph, he's at this race, and Berry still has a shot at the W. I think he's going to take this if he can.
Yeah, he absolutely will. And Berry, I call him the little professor. He is smooth, he is frosty, and he does what needs doing at the time that it needs doing. And right now, he's figuring out how to put the move on Evany. He's got 6 more laps to get it done here as we're completing lap 14. As you see, Evany just smooching the kitty litter right there on that very, very tough downhill turn 1. But yeah, it's only a matter of time, Ron, before Berry sticks it in there, gets some side-by-side position, and then it will be up to Evany how the rest of the pass goes.
Yeah, it takes 2 to tango, so in a situation like that, battling for the race lead, you got James Berry with championship aspirations, Peter Eveny looking to seize the opportunity and win this race here. 2 drivers looking to get a good result out of the day, but only one of them is going to taste the champagne in victory lane at the end of the next few laps. Berry, though, he's got the upper hand. He knows exactly where Peter Eveny has been positioning his car. He's probably been pushing Peter Eveny a little bit. Now, we don't have to talk about the tire wear too much in these cars, but we do have to talk about the tire temperatures and how quickly they can go on a bit of a tailspin track temperature's pretty high, I would say. I wouldn't say too bad. 83 degrees Fahrenheit, which is roundabout perfect for a race car. But in these SR10s, you do have to rely on those tires and lean on them a lot, especially here at a technical racetrack like Brands Hatch. So I wonder if James Berry has just been pushing Peter Eveny to put a bit too much onto his tires. Certainly seeing Eveny maybe run a little bit wide. He ran wide out of the final turn. He runs wide out of turn number 1. I think what James Berry has been doing here has been a game of cat and mouse. It's a cat playing with the mouse before he eats it.
Yeah, I think you're really right about that run. Berry pressing Eveny, reeling that gap down, sitting at about 0.2 right now, and as you observed, has pushed Peter into going wide on a couple of corners. It sure looks like Eveny is pushing harder to kind of achieve the same lap times as Berry. So lap 15 right now. Berry has some time here, 4 laps left, and just waiting to pounce, biding his time. And as I said, the little professor has got the calculations underway here, figuring out when and where he's going to pounce. But I like James's chances here. Peter is game. Peter has pace. Peter put that car on pole, but it is a tall order indeed to hold off James Berry for 19 laps here in the UK.
Yeah, if Peter Eveny can hold on to this top spot, it will be an almighty drive from him. A well-earned victory, but James Berry is still going to make it so that Peter Eveny cannot rest. As we get to the end of this race, look at Berry trying to find any way in the book to get past. Eveny once again, dipping some wheels off into the gravel. Now, this is an official series, so we do have to consider this. It's the dirty words, incident points. I wonder if Peter Eveny may have to worry about those incident points, because we're seeing that car start to slide around a bit more like a declawed cat climbing up an igloo. This is going to be tough for him as Berry looking for it down the inside into turn number 4. That would have been a gutsy spot to try and go for. Move into your favorite turn in the whole wide world.
Oh my goodness, and Berry's showing his nose on the inside of Surtees there, and I'll tell you, watching Berry's racecraft evolve over the years. You mentioned, Ron, we've been covering these radicals together for a long time and covering James Berry for a long time, and that is a new move, I'm going to say, in his toolkit, is kind of that catching his competitors asleep and making a quick last-minute move right on the entry to a corner. You saw him testing right there. He may be testing that one for a future lap, but he's got a handful of laps left, and sometimes when you're applying pressure from behind, showing your nose, you're testing your competitor's reaction to that and testing whether or not he's going to leave the door open on one of those late lunges, and I predict that is what Berry is going to try to unleash here down the stretch as we begin lap 17.
Yeah, and this isn't a comparison that I think has ever been made in the history of iRacing broadcasting, but in these SR10s, you can run it a bit like a freak show in the sense that if you spook somebody enough, you're going to be able to get your way. If you're running a horror house, you can just jump some people. A horror house. My Philly accent did not do me any justice there. I apologize if that sounded a bit inappropriate. I did not say that, just to be super clear. But no, if you're running a house of freaks trying to scare people, if you can jump scare somebody, they're eventually going to be able to do whatever you want. Here in these SR10s, in any race for that matter, if you send it down the inside, if you peek a wheel out, if you get in the racer's head that's in front of you a bit too much, you can very much find yourself in a spot to just blow their doors off if they even think about trying to defend. It's something that Ayrton Senna did a heck of a lot during his F1 career, where he pretty much forced the driver that he would go for a move on to just jump out of the way as soon as he peeked the wheel down the inside, because otherwise you'd be worried about some sort of accident taking place. Now, James Berry, not that driver. He's always a bit more calm and collected, but we have seen a level of aggression out of James Berry as of recent seasons here in these SR10s that I didn't really see out of him to start off, but it's worked out very well for him. He knows how to layer on that pressure as thick as frosting on a wedding cake, and if Berry can pull this off, Peter Eveny may be in trouble.
Yeah, he absolutely does, and a great comparison to Senna, and he was quite open about the fact that, if he put his car there and you turned in, there was going to be a crash, so it would be best if you backed out. And we've seen Verstappen drive similarly over the years, and as I said, I think that is a new tool that Berry has added to his toolkit here in piloting these SR10s, showing a little bit of aggression, not continuously and not without a lot of planning ahead, but definitely has learned how to opportunistically make those kind of abrupt passing maneuvers that can gain him positions. Take a look on the bottom of our screen there. That is Sebastian Lip with Tadej Kyriakopoulos, and you can see Adrian Rostang up ahead of him, and that is a train that's formed for P8 or I'm sorry, P7. And I'm sure that Sebastian Lip would like to claw some of those positions back. And up top, that battle for P1 still raging, a 0.3 gap from Ivani back to James Berry, and running out of time now. The white flag has been presented to Peter, so if Berry has something here for Ivani, it is time now to unleash it. And Ron, will we see it here in the bottom of this hill heading into Surtees? Here we go.
Yeah, you got to think about where James Berry is going to go for this move. Is he going to spook him once again into turn number 4? That's not the spot to go for it, because if you do that, you're going to compromise your run onto this massively, disproportionately long back straightaway. Look at Berry holding on to about a quarter of a second gap. It's closing down to 2/10. Not able to get the move done into turn number 5. I think it's the 7 and 8 section that's probably going to play into his strength the most. Maybe, however, we have to think about that final turn. Another heavy braking spot, the last of this lap. Let's see what Berry does as they head their way into the final sector for the last time in this race.
Yeah, here we go. And what is Berry gonna do here as we head down the hill here for the last time? And it may be that he's just gonna collect his points for P2 and call it good. Bottom screen, of course, back to Sebastian Lip looking forward at Kyriakopoulos, and that is going to do it. Ivani is going to take the win. Really great drive, Ron, from him. Can't be overstated. He withstood the pressure from Berry. That gap back to Berry was under 0.5 for that entire race. Berry showing his nose a couple times, and Ivani hanging on. Here comes Kettle Larson, who has hung on for P3 and might owe Andre Castro a Christmas card for taking out Christoph Lip behind, who was on a charge and very well could have pushed his way onto the podium. So a great race here at Brands Hatch. A couple of iffy maneuvers, of course, that we talked about up front, but that is going to conclude the action out here. Action packed as we were expecting, and there are your final results. It is Ivani hanging on to win from James Berry by 0.3 of a second. Kettle Larson will round out your podium in P3. Then it's Havard Gullikson, Lasse Sorensen, Andre Castro with that dubious dive into turn 1, controversial to say the least, in P6. Adrian Rostang in 7, Kyriakopoulos in 8, Sebastian Lip in P9, Heinz Braun rounding out your top 10. And as we scroll, it's Paki Caruso in P11, Pethick in P12, Bolsier, the last car on the lead lap in P13, and Christoph Lip, you saw him get taken out there on the entry to turn 1, and he parked it. And we'll finish that one 11 laps down. And let's go ahead and take a peek out in the green room. Not seeing anybody yet stopping by to speak to us. But so what is your takeaway from that one, Ron? Obviously, Ivani turning in the drive of the day, holding off James Berry for 18 exciting laps out here.
Yeah, defensive masterclass from Peter Ivany, holding on to that spot from the drop of the green through to the fall of the checkered. What this race saw, it wasn't the bare knuckle fist fight that we see at some draft heavy races, but it was a race that tested everybody's nerve and skill. As we kind of said before we even went live for the show, it was going to be one that tested the best of the best in this series, whether you're running up in the front or having to make your way from the back. Getting another look at that Sebastian Lip and Heinz Braun moment into turn number 1. That's a real trouble about this racetrack. A very short run into the first turn, and that first turn very tricky to make up some spots. But overall, this was a test of drivers' nerve, a test of drivers' skill. Sometimes these drivers really prefer to have events like this. I gotta say, I am with them. I love to see these drivers get tested. Now, granted, if I was a driver out there on the circuit, I would appreciate if we were running on some big flat-out oval and we wouldn't have to worry about any turns at all, because that would be the point where I would embarrass myself. But as a broadcaster, I love seeing these racers run a little bit uncomfortable, I think is probably the best way that we could sum it up. I don't think everybody was fully settled into the groove until we made it to the very end.
Yeah, too right. And I'll tell you, there's something special about having these radicals out on these old school UK tracks. The Radical Car Company, of course, based in the UK. And you've got to imagine some radical test drivers out here, as well as Oulton Park putting laps down. And this car really made for this kind of circuit. And as you saw from the racing today, really put on fantastic stuff. And looks like we have a couple people who have shown up to chat with us in the green room, and it looks like James Berry coming off a brilliant drive in P2. And James, we talked a lot about what you were thinking and what your plan was down the stretch there. You were all over Ivani. That gap never got below 0.5. We were taking bets on where you were going to try to make a move. But what was your plan in attacking him and down the stretch, as you just decided to settle into your P2?
I was never settling, but I couldn't have a plan because it's just a struggle for the whole race with the dirty air and the tyres overheating. I was pushing 100%, and I could tell there were one or two places where I was getting a bit closer, like turn 2, for example. He would lose a bit of time in the braking zone. Ultimately, it doesn't matter when you can't get close enough, just sitting there for the whole race. Thinking what could have been, really, because qualifying didn't go as well as I would have hoped. So that kind of decided the race. So not much I could have done. I did everything I could, and he fully deserves that because, he did a great job. Peter did.
Well, it was definitely an epic defensive drive by him, and it really looked about the middle of the race that the pressure that you were putting on him from behind, he was getting a little sloppy, getting a little loose, running wide in a couple places where you weren't. And I really thought, you mentioned tires, I really thought that he might have been over driving to hang on to that P1, and you might be able to force a mistake, but it didn't happen. So really a tip of the hat to him, really, for withstanding your relentless pressure from behind, and a great drive by you, keeping him honest. It really looked like you were going to force a mistake there, but he was able to hang on. So interesting twist of scheduling for next week. Radicals on the Charlotte Roval. So what are your thoughts about battling those monstrosity curbs out there at Charlotte that a Radical could probably hide behind because they're so big?
Mm-hmm. I have no idea. I have to go and drive the track. I've driven it before in Formula Fords, stuff like that. I think I even did a Camel GT back when it was called Camel GT in the old Nissan GTP, so that was an interesting experience at Charlotte. So obviously a completely different car in the Radicals to do it in, so it'll be really interesting, and I'm sure the show will be good. And as for the kind of pecking order, I have no idea, so just have to go and work at it and see what the dynamics are racing there.
Right, excellent. Well, James, thank you so much for stopping by and sharing your insights with us. We always enjoy speaking with you. And as we wrap up, is there anyone you would like to thank or give a shout out to today?
Just shout out Peter for the win. Maybe he'll come for an interview sometime. But obviously he's doing a great job. He's pushing. Hopefully we'll see more of him this year because it's really great to have these great drivers in the series.
Yeah, all right. Well, excellent, James. Thank you so much. And we will see you next week at Charlotte.
Yeah, see you guys. Bye-bye.
All right, that was your winner, James Berry, and looks like there's some changes going on out there in the green room, Ron. It looks like we have got Kjetil Larsen for you.
And Kjetil Larsen now joining us here in the broadcast booth. Kjetil, welcome in. It was a pretty tough race for all of you drivers up and down the field. How did you find this race here at Brands Hatch today?
Yeah, it was a good race for me. Finally a podium position, so I'm really happy. But it was a tough race. I cooked the tires a little bit early in the race when Lasse made a mistake. And I tried to catch up to the guys in front, but they were too quick today.
Yeah, but still an awesome drive for you. P3 at the end of this race. I've been covering you in some of these broadcasts for quite some time. I think the first time I got to cover you was back in the summer of 2023. So nice to see you finally break through and get that P3 result. Want to ask you about the track temperatures, mainly the tire temps. James Berry just mentioned it a few moments ago, how tricky it was just keeping the tires underneath you at all times. Did you find that to be a real tough test for yourself as well?
Oh yeah, for sure. When I passed Lasse, I tried to push all I had to catch up to Baddy and Ivani, but I pushed a little bit too hard and the tires got too hot, and the lap times fell the wrong way, so I couldn't catch them. So I had to take it easy some couple of laps and get the temp down in the tires so I could push a little bit at the end.
Yeah, but either way, it worked out in the race for you, P3 at the end. Next time out, though, we're going to be running on a quite different track in the form of the Charlotte Roval for week 9 of this season. What are your thoughts heading to that track in 1 week's time?
Oh, I need to practice a lot because I haven't had much time on that track, so I will see what I can do, but I hope to do the same thing again there, so I just need to practice.
Well, practice gonna make perfect for the next round of the season. Kettle, thank you so much for joining us here in the broadcast booth, and we'll see you next time out at the Charlotte Roval.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. That right there was Kettle Larson. I'll pass it back off to you, JR.
All right, and as we mentioned previously, as this fantastic 2026 Season 1 rolls on, our Radical Warriors are going to visit the Charlotte Roval. And if you like high speed, if you like seeing the draft and seeing a game of leapfrog on every lap coming down to a white knuckle finish, you are going to want to join us 2100 GMT next Friday for that. It is going to be fantastic. And folks, just a reminder, as you're sitting there in front of your phone, your tablet, your computer, or your smart TV, go ahead and subscribe to RaceBot TV and hit that notification icon so that you don't miss any of the racing action. Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us for today's broadcast of 2026 Season 1 of the Radical Esports Cup. I am JR Gregory. On behalf of myself, my partner, Racing Ron Mons, our producer, Ramiro Agustin Cisneros, and everyone here at RaceBot TV, have a great Friday and an even better weekend.